There he is. It is. Hey, Jack. Yeah, it's pretty warm. Need it tonight.
Something that we talked about way back.
He does run it back. It's getting there though.
It used to be like
How are you?
it's good to see you. Looks like it's about an hour down, Cotton.
Use the cold hand.
You still
He takes me.
It's out fishing. That's what I do.
Oh yeah, I ain't fixing the boat. Looks up and getting the boat in the water right now. Yeah, get those down there. How are you? How comes down here at level 3? Oh, I'll take it down to winter pool. Yeah. How are you? Maybe lower than that. I was over the near the other day and it looks like it's about 15 feet. Wait a minute. It's, what's your tent? How you doing, sir?
The charges, they're out there.
You don't have to. They're just out there.
I was telling him about it because he took me up to these great big time preserve and supposed to be animals. Hell, we didn't even see it.
Well, I guarantee you look that little piece of property. If you walk around long enough, you'll go here. Well, I hope you did after tonight. Yeah, still both months.
That's why I only hunt over here.
All that.
Well, it's good to see you guys again. I think we got it handled, I know.
I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I'm on the planning board. That's why you guys.
Yeah.
Planning and zoning.
You and that lady right up there.
Yep. Just like going to guilty. You got to follow. I got you one. I got you one. Double lip. All right, well, I'll take these back over. He should be.
I'm going to ask him where he wants to down to the last 30 seconds. There's more of yeah, that's my training out kick his foot, he'll appreciate it. That one don't bend.
Okay, so kids, go ahead and we'll call the meeting to order. This is our regular council meeting, November the 17th, 2011. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sandra, would you give an invocation?
Gracious Heavenly Father, once again we come to you about this humble voice, asking you to monitor this. And Father, as we approach this Thanksgiving season, just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to see another day, and thank you that our family chains have not been broken. I want to say thank you for this great city which we have the honor to serve. And Father, we want to thank you for allowing us all to be here once again. We ask that you continue to bless these meetings, that you continue to bless this council, and that you continue to lead us and guide us in the way that you would have us to go, and that all we say and do be pleasing and acceptable in thy sight. And Father, we want to ask that you continue to bless our military personnel and their families, and that as we move forward into the new season, that we all do remember the reason for the season. These are the other blessings we do ask in thy name. Amen.
I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda tonight. So moved. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Not those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Okay. We have in your package there the minutes from the October 20th, 27th, and November 3rd meetings. Are there any corrections or changes?
I do have two corrections.
Ma'am.
On the October the 20th, 11, we have A in our folder. Item number 5, I think it's a typo. It reads, state issue financial but not effort, and I think it should be a forward. And also under item number 11, council introduced topics, Georgia Northeastern Railroad failed to be included in my thank yous regarding the water break issue that we had.
Okay. Any other changes? Okay. Then we will actually call a vote with those changes if there's not any objection to that. So, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. Minutes are approved. Certainly want to welcome all our guests and visitors here tonight, and we do have at the beginning of each meeting a 10-minute public input period. And we have a couple of individuals who have signed up to speak. First, we have Mr. John Cagle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. Thanks to Ms. Tanner and Mr. Dyer. This is coming to fruition and for the ordinance on the cemetery. And there is some charge work that needs to be done in it through different groups here on what are you going to charge? We don't know yet. Thank you very much. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Okay. Diana, Cornette.
Council. I've never been to a meeting before, so I do know how to talk. I can take my 10 minutes, I'm sure. This is something that I myself am not capable of doing, but I'm hoping that the council will help find somebody that can finish what I'm trying to speak to you about this evening, okay? Because I do have a lot of medical issues, and I cannot come all the time, and I can't do things all the time. My issue is about the young children that are wanting to find a place to be with their friends and not have loitering charges. Okay. When I was younger, and when you was younger, most of you, you knew how you used to go from here to there, and we used to talk to our friends and enjoy ourselves just speaking, okay? We was good kids. We didn't go do any drinking. We did not do any drugs, but we just wanted to go out and just chit chat, okay? There's no place here for our children to do that. No place. I have gotten contact with, I tried to get a hold of Billy Cantrell, the police chief of, not Billy Cantrell, I'm sorry, he's passed, I'm sorry, Jeff Lance, and I talked to his secretary, and she said that he was out, and she was going to discuss this with him. I know that an appropriate place could be here in the parking lot when nobody's going to be having any business that night and stuff, and I do have a solution to a problem of, well, how do we know which child is going to be causing problems and not causing problems? Well, if we run them through the system and we check their records at school, if they have an ID card on them, and the police officers that do go around will learn who they are, then they can sit and they can talk and they can enjoy themselves. When I graduated, there was plenty of jobs. This is a 360-degree turnaround. There's no jobs for a lot of them children out there. My grandson is one of them, and I know. And he's looked, and he's looked. I am trying to talk, I tried to talk to the Y. Now, I don't know, is this the YMCA, Your Honor?
Ma'am?
Is this the YMCA that we have in this city?
It is, yes.
Okay. Well, YMCA stands for Young Men's Christian Association, okay? Right. And the YW is for the Young Women's. Now, when I was younger, I went to the Y and didn't have to pay anything. I just got to go there and enjoy this stuff, you know, like swimming, belly dancing, things that the girls like to do. The boys, basketball, you know, things that they like to do. But we can't, these children cannot afford this. If we could talk to the director and maybe get a 4-hour slash in there, you know, once a week for the children to go and do what they would like to do and enjoy do, as long as they have their card. See, this card is an important issue with me, okay? Because these are kids that do not drink. Yeah, maybe on bowling, okay? Somebody can go and talk to them about bowling, and they might get a 2-hour bowling thing free for you know, for the kids that like to go do that. But they're still going to want to chit-chat in the parking lots, okay? And not have any problems. Now, I do have a problem with people that do get together in restaurants, and you know, everybody has their own thing. But if they drink, okay, they sit there, they chit-chat with their friends, and they go out and drive. I was on an ambulance service, and I worked in surgery. I never picked up kids that was out playing, just chit-chatting. I picked up a lot of drunks, and then I also cut a lot of drunks' legs off, you know? So I'm just wanting these kids to have a place. I'm wanting, you know, I'm asking for your help and your input, or for somebody that can do this for the children that have graduated, or just before they've graduated. But I don't want the bullies involved, okay? Because the bullies are the ones that cause the problems. My grandson does not drink, he does not do drugs, he don't even smoke. But, you know, he's had 2 loitering tickets. For what? You know, what did he do? He was on private property, okay? So we need a place for our children. We have a place for our grown-ups to go, and you all know that. You all grown-ups can go wherever you want to go. But can your children go and enjoy themselves any place? Does anybody know? I mean, I'm asking for y'all's help too, because to me this is important. These are my grandkids. If it was my child, I'd be up here doing this too. But my daughter played baseball. I started the first softball baseball for them. You know, I mean, and it kept growing. But now I'm a grandma. I've had a lot of medical issues, and I can't do what I'd love to do. But I'm asking for help from the community to do this. And if anybody can complete some of this, even get a hold of the county, they might know some places that they can go. And it's not something, I'm not talking about, and I know not everybody's rich, okay? There's a lot of poor families. But the people that have a lot of money, you know, let them have their children give some money. But those that don't have any money, let them go for nothing so that they can go in and enjoy themselves, okay? I know there's two classes of kids. There's the rich kids and there's the poor kids. So we need to have a place for both, so that each one of them, so they can, still have their little spaces together, even at the Y, the rich kids can spend with their time, whatever. I remember my grandson, he went over here to a bar that was just there for the people that they could, it was off of Riverstone, and they could play cards. Does you all remember that bar there, where the grandkids could go and play cards, and they get little tickets? And the kids, they enjoy it. On Thursday nights, that was just the thing to do. Well, the bar's not there anymore, okay? And it was just, they didn't drink, they wasn't allowed alcohol, but it was a thing for them to do. So, somebody needs to think of a place for the girls to do something. This is a dead county for children. It's not a dead county for anybody who wants to go drink, but it's a dead county for kids. They have things that they would like to do, and that's it. Okay, and thank you, and I hope that something can be done. I'm only a one-woman army here, and I can't do it. So I just wanted to put some input in.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Carter. We
And
appreciate that
you.
and your interest there, and certainly I would ask that anyone who has some suggestions, please see Ms. Cornett or Ms. Americas. You seem to be able to coordinate that. Go ahead.
Ms. Cornett, I just want to say I appreciate you bringing that forward. It is an excellent idea. I remember in my youth, we had the drive-ins where you drive your car in, have a Coke, have a hamburger, but everybody used to circle around the parking lot. So it's a place, we don't have those anymore.
We don't have any.
And that was an excellent place.
Yes.
Because all they served were soft drinks and that type of stuff.
That's right.
The other thing is, you brought up a very interesting point that I will have to look into further. But we do have what's called a community center / YMCA. I don't know how we have a community center and a YMCA when you're not allowed to go in there unless you're a member.
Yes.
So, but the city is paying for that. So I'd like to look into that.
Was it state funded, Your Honor? Was it state funded, sir?
Pardon?
Was that state funded?
No, ma'am. City.
Is it city funded? Okay.
Yes. So there are some issues you brought up. We have to look at them, but I think they're excellent. And I think we need to look at that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, we will open our public hearing for the annual update of the capital improvement plan and 5-year short-term work plan relative to Canton's impact fee program. We talked about this, I believe, somewhat at length at the last meeting. Ken, do you have anything to add to this? Or does anyone answer any questions? If any questions are here.
I have nothing to add, Mr. Mayor. I'm available to answer any questions of council members or questions or anybody that wants to speak at the public hearing.
Okay. In fact, we'll open it up for any public input that anyone would like to make. Do we have any public input relative to the annual update of the capital improvement plan? Okay. Then, in that case, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to the consent agenda, which basically the only item for consideration here is the September financials. And do we want to that from the consent agenda?
Yes, I would like to remove it, but have discussion.
All right, let's discuss. Go ahead.
I would like to try to follow through on the second page. It's the assignment of fund balances. We're back to the old favorite of 1.7 million at period from 2010. And then we had to utilize some of that money. We have remaining in the unassigned fund balance of 1.5, shade under. And then the fiscal year 2011 activities to date, and we're in the hole 5 million. Are you with me, Mr. Wood?
No, sir, I'm really not.
Okay, I'll start again.
Second page.
Second page, general fund accounting breakdown, September 30th, 2011. Assignment of the fund balance, September 30th, 2010, unreserved fund balance was 1.7 million. Second quarter amendments, which we voted and had to take out. Remaining unassigned fund balance is 1.5, shade under. The fiscal year 2011 net activity to date were $1 million negative, correct? Bracketed. Bottom line, we down to the total cash balance of September 30th, 2011 is $1,014,000. Did we lose somewhere in there based on the carry forward? Try to track the negative $1,012,408 is what we're short from our budget for 2011 versus having some funds carried forward. So if that's the case, we do now have the 1 million that will go into the unreserved fund. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And before we get too far down the pike, at a work session, I'd like to put in there to follow up on something that Mr. Rush asked for last year, and that is to have the contingency fund, not the contingency fund, excuse me, reserve fund monies to look at to see what we're going to put in that reserve fund to build. I think it's $250,000 now, and I think we want to build it on up as much as we can. Just want to have that on. So you need to make sure I've got a good one number.
Yeah, I think what you, and we can talk about this later if you want to, but I think what you want to do is supplement that reserve fund with whatever contingency monies are not utilized during the year. It seems to me that's what we would want to do.
I just want to have a solid number that we have to carry forward, and it looks like 1 million. And then what we can do is, instead of just putting it back into the unassigned fund balance, put a portion of it in there, but put the other over into the reserve fund, which we started this past year. 250.
Yeah, is not the reserve cash balance at September 30th, is that not the 250,000 we put in the reserve fund?
Oh, it is, okay.
So that's reserved now, so that's
right.
Now what we want to do is, but there's nothing in the current 2012 budget for a reserve account.
That was the number coming out of the FY 11 budget. Right. What you want to do is hopefully is to gain on the revenue side and gain, meaning minus on the expense side, and then preserve as much of that dedicated contingency number during FY 12 as we can. And then as we get closer to the end of 12, decide then what number you want to supplement that 250 with. I think that's what your goal is. If you take it now, then you're taking it out of a budget line item.
The unassigned fund balance is not a budget line item. No, it's off to itself. That's what I don't want to happen, is what we start doing, is taking that found money and throwing it back into the general fund. I want to keep it separate. I want to earmark it, if they use the word earmark, and pull out $250. Put it over into that reserve cash fund. And that was the plan, because we've got, as a city, we've got to build a reserve. Just do it early on in the year versus later. That's all I'm saying. I would like for you to look at that and then come back and give us the number. By no means, I don't want to put you on the spot. You are.
Not new to me.
Let me ask you, does the total cash balance as of September the 30th in reality reflect only roughly, say, $500,000 of unrestricted funds? Since you have the 250 and the 287, which has been committed but not expended.
Yes, sir.
Now you just switched on me here. That million is supposed to be $1 million.
Now, it's $1 million if you add stuff that we've already committed to spend. You know, there's not just free money hanging out there, you see, that you can put to this or put to that. Now, 250 of it,
It should have been.
theoretically maybe, even though it's restricted for
That
another
committed
purpose.
plus unexpended should then been in brackets so we can subtract it from that. That's where I get confused. I don't have money's taken away or whatever. That's the reason I'm asking. Let's make sure we got a hard number.
And part of this may simply be the format, and we can sit down with Nathan and we'll try to do that one day next week and be sure the format is clear. And once that's clear, then maybe the question of what dollars you do have some discretionary latitude over.
I gotta say, we're miles ahead from where we were last year having this form. This is good. So,
Thank you. So let me say one thing, Mayor, and Nathan can augment this or comment on this as he feels it appropriate. They're working hard on the audit, and of course Steve Garber has been helping us on a consulting basis with that as well. One of the goals for the new software was to be able to eliminate one of our audit deficiencies, which in lay language, I can't necessarily put it in audit language, but was basically to be able to determine your account receivables on a virtually instantaneous basis, at least on a day-to-day basis. And given the spate of challenges that we all know that we have had recently, we're hopeful to be able to achieve some clarity about that by audit time. It may or may not occur in this coming audit year. That's not new because that's been a problem or an issue that the city's had for years prior. But just want you to be aware of that. I want you to be aware that they're working on it, and hopefully that'll be concluded positively. But it is an ongoing issue.
then can I ask, being it's on the agenda for a vote, can I ask that we postpone that until we have that number? Because I don't want to.
Now, what I'm referring to is an item that would be noted in our audit. That's what my comment was.
But I'm saying tonight, we were supposed to approve this finance.
You can defer that if you'd like to, sure. I mean, from our standpoint, you can, we're not counting.
Well, I'm just asking.
And we have, essentially, since it's the only item on the consent agenda, there's really no need to move it around. So I guess we're going to vote on it. And if there is a thought that you wanted tabled for 30 days, then we would need a motion and a vote to table that.
I'd like to make a motion that we table the consent. I mean, this financial statement until our December the
First.
First work session.
First is work session, be the 15th. Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second the motion because I just want to discuss it a little further.
Okay. All right. All right, we have a motion.
Are what they are. The extra 600,000 that we got in that was unexpected is
It's not in here.
not in here.
This is through September.
Okay, that came in October. All right. So what? I just missed. I guess what's not. I don't know how else this could be reported and not be what it is. I'm not understanding what the problem is.
Well, really, back to last year's exercise, 5 months, maybe 6 months, I continued to ask what happened to 1.7. Actually, it was 1.5, but it turned out to be 1.7 million. It was put over to the general fund for 2011, which you have a balance carried forward, you cannot put it into the general fund balance. Because we signed off on a budget with a fixed number. And we didn't make an amendment, we didn't do anything. It was just put in there, because we didn't have a place to put it. Finally, we came up with a place to put it, and it's called the unassigned fund balance. And so we moved it to that. And we were then able to identify it, and that turned out to be 1.737474. And then we had to utilize some of it, which was on the second quarter amendment. We took out about $250,000. And then we had the remaining 1.5. So it's a key element.
That's what I need to ask you myself. What information do you anticipate having between now and next meeting that would change any of this?
I'm asking, is the $1,014,566 the carryover from the fiscal year 2011? And if that's the case, is it going into the reserve fund balance, which it doesn't show that it is. It just says cash balance. I want to know where it's going.
Nathan, you want to come up and maybe help?
I remember, I didn't take account of 101. That's the discussion we had.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The $1,014,566, that is a total fund balance. Of that, $250,000 is the number above. The $250,000 has been reserved by council to be used specifically for a single item.
Excuse me, I think that's for the roof, I believe.
Below that, look at $287,467. That has been committed. Committed is a little bit different from reserve because committed can be changed by the council. And I apologize. I'm just getting into the audit. I'm not sure what the council did. But that is committed. Above that $476,935, that is your unreserved, uncommitted, fund balance that will go in for, unless the council chooses otherwise, for general operations, or the general fund needs. So you basically have $500,000 that will roll in as unreserved, uncommitted fund balance for the general fund.
And that would be the total balance of that fund beginning October 1.
It starts at $500,000.
Okay. Whereas this time last year, roughly, we had 1.7.
I'll have to look back in the records. That 1.7 million, did the council reserve the $250,000 subsequent to September 30th, 2010?
Yes.
Okay, so at that time, it probably was unreserved, uncommitted.
Mr. Bashford, does that help with that? Do you know? And that,
I would like to make a comment, Mr. Beresford, you commented on reviewing this again in a month. That may not be a bad idea because GASB 57 has completely changed how we were going to report fund balance.
You're correct.
Right, and it may be beneficial to look at that with the new requirements, how we spread fund balance.
so are you saying that amount could be less or more?
No, it's probably
It's gonna be the same, it's just gonna be how you show it.
how we report.
Okay. All right, I think we have a motion and a second that we table this until the next meeting, next council meeting. Any other questions? If not, those are, he didn't seem to think they would change, is that they may be allocated or shown in a different way, which, I'm not an accountant either, so I'm not sure exactly what that means, but.
It means you might not be able to get your hands on it as easy as we want to, because of that group.
Because of the reporting requirements. Yeah. But anyway, the numbers really shouldn't change much at all anyway, so. Okay. Those in favor of tabling this until the December council meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No. Okay. All right, and I would entertain a motion to approve the financials as they are stated. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
All members voted for the motion with the exception of Mr. Beresford. Okay, under old business, we have the update wastewater treatment plant design development. I believe there's some ongoing discussions relative to that. Mr. Wood, do you want to comment on that?
The only comment I guess I could make would be to apprise council that both the mayor and I have met recently with contract and in-house engineers about the various compliance requirements that we have with EPD and DNR, and our goal is to have a specific recommendation for council's consideration, hopefully as early as our next meeting, to continue that process. I wish I could say conclude it, but it's actually a series of right lengthy steps. As long as we stay in the water and sewer business, we're going to be involved in some of that. So Mr. Mayor, short answer would be that's ongoing.
Are we going to fall into the time frame that we need to do so we can respond to the EPD so we do not get any more consent workers or consent?
We'll do our best, I'm sure of that.
I know, but I heard what you said, but I want to hear a time frame. I want to hear it before we go hit the wall. And then next thing you know, interesting enough, last night on Channel 2, they have some police reporter there doing research on consent orders throughout the entire state of Georgia. Canton, Flash 5, along with all the other cities, and they're cracking down. So, with that guy doing his research, we got to figure that office down there got stirred up a little bit. So I want to have us get in on that list again. So I just ask him, we need to move quickly as possible. And if we need to move quick enough, and it's a work session, the first of December, maybe we should have a slot in there to make a vote to make that thing move ahead quicker.
I think that's pretty much what he was saying there, so we'll try to do that.
Do we not have a proposal from Baker's company on something to do with wastewater plant?
You know, there's so many facets to what we're doing right now. We've got the I&I issue that we're trying to do some assessment on. We've had some operations analysis that have been ongoing. Obviously, we're going to have a UP contract that's up in September of next year, and that will really be here before you could say scat. I mean, we need to begin the process of evaluating what we're going to do in terms of bid offerings, probably in spring, so that'll be here in no time. Obviously, we've got still out there the issue of the possibility of some sort of merger with Cherokee County, the issue of the road and war. There have been discussions today about some of those issues. But this particular issue is relative to the consent order at the wastewater treatment plant. And we have been doing some work with O'Brien and Gear. We've had some discussions with Infratech. We've had meetings with our in-house engineer this morning, and we can continue to try to keep that process moving. I know that's not as time specific maybe as Mr. Beresford was asking for, but probably the best answer I can give.
Well, I would think so. I would hope that we would be in a position to meet the schedule, certainly, that we've laid out. And we have laid out, notified the EPD of a schedule. And from my perspective, and I'm sure Mr. Woods, I think that we need to pursue with all vigor trying to meet that schedule. Okay. All right, the collection site, Mr. Beresford.
I want to apologize. I just got this document. I haven't had time to read through. And what I'd like to do is table this discussion on our collection site. We are continuing to lose money. We do not want to do away with the collection site for our citizens, but we do need to make sure that we don't lose money, and we aren't in the business of trying to make the money. So we really need to look at this, talk about it in a work session, the 1st of December, and then let's try to take some action on it. We've made a couple of stabs at it this past year, and I think we've probably reduced some of the loss, but we're still in the hole. So I'll take it off the agenda.
Okay, I guess we would need to then amend that agenda to, or at least table that, and you may.
I'm sure just discuss it, and he just discussed it, so I think he's ready.
Fine with me. That's all I'm saying. That's all we'll do. All right. Cemetery ordinance, I think we have been through this. If anyone has any particular questions, we can have our city attorney here if you can address those. Go ahead.
There's been a fairly substantial amount of changes from the one we presented a month or so ago, taking out a lot of stuff that I didn't really understand, frankly, about how it would operate. So what it's left with is this: the city would only have a role in keeping track of whose plot is whose and maintenance, meaning cutting grass and so forth. Otherwise, funeral homes will take care of all the burials and any work done out there. So, for instance, had holidays and all that in there before, all that's been taken out. We don't care when it's done, other than it's got to be daylight. So, a lot of that got taken out.
Yeah, the only thing that hasn't been decided, I believe, Mr. Cagle mentioned, is basically the fees for.
The ordinance just says fees as set.
Okay, we can set them at any time, I guess, in our ordinance.
I didn't see it on the agenda. Was it on there?
It was.
The cemetery, you didn't see?
You may not have the most
Item
recent
C,
one.
cemetery ordinance.
Did you get a copy of the amended agenda?
No.
Actually written in on mine, so I
And
don't.
it was emailed, I believe, too.
If somebody written it in on mine.
It was the one online that Marion says to go to.
Yeah, it's on here.
But it did get a packet.
It is first reading, right? This would be considered the first reading of this ordinance.
So we can change anything that needs to be changed.
Now, has this, or will this be advertised in the next couple of weeks? The 15th of December. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Under new business, we have Ms. Pat, you want to come up? We need to go over any of these. Of course, and correct me on this, and feel free to add too as we go along here, but item A has to do with this is the Belfray LLC annexation of 22 acres.
That is the first item. We are requesting council take action on the planning commission recommendation to approve the annexation of 22 acres along Hurd Road, involving case AX 1109-001.
All right, we would need to take action on the annexation case prior to the next step, which is the rezoning from rezoning to C2.
I'd like to make a motion that we
approve the annexation.
Approve it, yes.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I have a question or two about
Sure.
it. Ken, I touched on this after the meeting, but last time, but I want to fully understand who is, this property is going to be put in a land conservation trust, right?
It's been indicated by the current property owners that they would place a conservation easement on the property. Their plans are to donate the property to the city of Canton. It would be for discussions, I guess, with the city attorney and those property owners and city council in regards to the language for that conservation easement and actually who would hold that conservation easement, whether it's a third-party land trust or the city of Canton.
Okay, so the city can actually hold and manage the trust.
Correct.
Monitor it on an annual basis to make sure it's being.
Yes, sir. That would be in compliance with the state of Georgia's requirements for conservation easements. A government or a third party can hold that conservation easement.
Just want to make sure we don't get a piece of land that we're not going to be able to somewhat develop into a usable park and not just be sitting there attracting nuisances.
That would be up to the language in the conservation easement that would specify what type of passive recreational opportunities you want to have with that property.
Should we not do that, establish that before we accept this?
Well, the step where you would say no would be when they come to give you the property. If it had restrictions that we couldn't use, we just wouldn't take title of the property. All we're doing here is annexing it into the city limits and rezoning. So if they go to the land trust and that land trust puts things in the easement that are too restrictive, we just wouldn't accept the property in donation.
What would be the downside of it being annexed into the city and us not accepting it?
Well, if they put it in the trust, none, because there'd be no development. I mean, the downside would be you collect no taxes.
Okay, nice.
Which would happen anyway, if they done this in the county. My point is being you have another step before we have to worry about that.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second. Okay, you second it.
Second.
We'll do that. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. All members voting for the motion. Item B there is actually the rezoning of the piece, which has just been basically brought into the city, and it is being brought in at a zoning recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission of C2. This is case Z 1109-001.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voted for the motion. Okay, and the item C, the decision to on the resolution to transmit the annual update of the capital improvements element and the 5-year short-term plan under our impact fee program. This is what we had the hearing on earlier in this meeting, public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any other discussion? Not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. All members voted for the motion. Item D, decision on implementing a residential plan plan review action requested. Yes.
Question. When we looked at that residential plan review, we also looked at all the other cities in the surrounding area, and we don't charge. And we discussed last time about having a fee. Did we come up with anything on that?
In regards if council were to want to adopt a residential plan review and have a fee for that, we would respectfully request that the council consider increasing the building permit fee from $3.50 per $1,000 valuation to $4 per $1,000 of valuation to cover cost for plan review. That $4 per $1,000 as far as the building permit fees would still place the city of Canton lower than most of the local governments in the area. It would be a little bit higher than the county and the city of Woodstock. It's lower than Holly Springs and the majority of the other cities and adjacent counties.
So that would be an increase in our building permit fee of what? 12%?
50.
On $200,000 house, it'd be $1,100.
You know, I'm not sure this is, personally, I'm not sure this is the time we need to be increasing building permit fees. We're not getting any building permits anyway. We need to be, you know, encouraging those things to me. I mean,
I think it's an ideal time. Because when the rush
it's not going to hurt our revenue any, is it?
No. And the rush comes back, we all of a sudden everybody's wanting to build again. Then we're going to, oh, by the way, we're going to charge you more. I think right now is the time to put it in, and it's pretty quiet. And if somebody's got a house, now, is that fee here, or do we have to come up with a separate issue to change it? What we're going to approve right here, does that stop us from making a new fee?
Well, what the council could do is make a motion to implement a policy to establish a residential plan review and increase the building residential building permit fee from $3.50 per $1,000 to $4 per $1,000. We're requesting the effective date of this would be January the 3rd, I believe, is the first working day after the year, because if council approves this, we need to get word out to all the development community that we're going this route. But again, the request for the residential plan review was in regards to our ISO rating for building code grade effectiveness.
Mr. Rush?
Yes, Mr. Patton, if I remember correctly at the work session, we said that, well, you just said it for the ISO, but we also said that if a developer came in with 3 different plans for a subdivision, we would only need 3 different plan reviews. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now,
If a tract builder is going to utilize basically 3 models to build within a subdivision, they would submit 1 plan for those models. They wouldn't have to submit a set of plans for each house on each lot.
Right, but my point is, if we increase the building permit fee by 50 cents per $1,000, that building permit fee goes for every house in that subdivision, not just the 3 plans. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So then we're not only raising we're not increasing the fee just for the plan review. We're putting a fee on every house that goes into the subdivision. So why do we not just charge for the plan review as do other communities, instead of sticking the builder for every house in that community? I mean, I agree with the mayor. We don't want to raise any fees right now. If all we're raising it for is just the plan review, that I think we're hitting it a little hard.
Whatever the city council wishes to do. There are a few communities that do a flat fee in regard to plan review, anywhere from $100 to $500 per plan review. The majority of the governments that we surveyed in this latest round, plus we had surveyed additional communities when we did a fee increase at the beginning of the FY 2011 for commercial permit fees. Majority of governments had that residential plan review included within their residential building permit fee.
But to be consistent, Ken, I mean, commercial plan reviews paid totally separate from the building permit fee, is it not?
No, sir, it's contained within the building.
It's within that, then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's not a separate charge for a commercial plan review? What if you gotta buy a permit before they'll review your plan?
You submit the building plans, and those are reviewed prior to the issue.
What if I don't come in to get a building permit? I don't pay for that plan review?
No, sir.
Why?
And if the city...
Well, I mean, if someone brings it in, I mean, what if they change their mind? We've spent our time working, we've had our engineers looking at these plans for maybe days or weeks at a time, and then suddenly they say, hey, I'm gonna shake it out, I think I want to build this just yet. And then we've done all that work and get nothing out of it.
When do they pay the building permit fee?
When the building permit's issued.
With no application fee?
No.
Didn't Cherokee County, I mean, I don't know what they do now, but didn't they used to, I know they used to actually have like X amount of money for a plan review, for a development or for a commercial development of any kind. You know how they're doing that now?
I'm not sure how the county does their building plan reviews. We do assess a separate fee for a site plan review.
The issue we're talking here is residential.
That is correct.
My understanding, and maybe a misunderstanding, is that when we asked at the last discussion on this, is that if it's a track set up and they're going to have 3 or 4 model homes, those reviews would be charged for 4 model homes. And if they build another 100 within that, we aren't charging them for a review of every new home they do. They're charging them for the first 4 reviews. And what I understand Mr. Rush say is that we would charge them for the other 100 homes.
You would
if it's included within the residential building permit. There would be, if you will, a charge on every one of them based upon that scenario. If you want to implement a flat fee for a residential plan review.
Mr. Rice?
City of Holly Springs has $400 for their residential building plan review fee. Other communities vary. Hall County charges $100. Griffin charges $100.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest we do is that the initial request was to have the residential plan review because of the ISO rating, and the initial request to have no charge for it. Since we're not doing that many anyway, I would suggest that we approve that we have a residential plan review, but go to the next work session to discuss any kind of fee that we want to put on it. I don't think we're going to lose a lot of money in 3 weeks or something like that.
I don't think it will.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the residential plan review.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
One other point. Can we have Mr. Canton come back December 1st work session and give us the input on fees?
Yes, sir. We'll
update
fees.
And it's, so we have that on the work session.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anything else? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voted for the motion.
let me be clear, what you, what would you suggest, give you a recommendation on a fee or what?
The next, at the work session.
Give us a couple of different scenarios. We've got this information from 2 weeks ago, months ago, whatever it was, by all the other cities and stuff, and we're sitting within the confines of this group, and it looks pretty good. But why give something?
You give recommendation already tonight, and so I just want to be sure I understood what it is.
I'd like to see another option. I'd like to see 2 options. Because we're talking 50 cents here.
You're talking about building permit, including it with the building permit versus a flat fee. What would that flat fee recommendation be?
What makes it slicker, quicker for a developer or a builder to come in and say, here's what we're going to charge you. Because right now, a lot of them have said over a period of time, you guys are hard to work with. You got to do this, and then you got to do that, etc. Let's make it quick and simple, whatever it is. And it's for our benefit.
We'll do some additional research, provide additional communities and their fees that are charged on residential plan reviews. We'll come back with an option in regards to a flat rate and the option in regards to inclusion within the building permit. I sense that the council's going to go flat rate and we'll come back with that in 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, the next item on the agenda, the decision on the annual renewal of GIS Zoom prospector software with Cherokee County Office of Economic Development. I think we've talked about this before, and this is something I think.
Make a motion to approve.
Costs about $4,000, something like that. Have a motion? Second. Any other questions or discussion about that? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. Item F, the ordinance.
One quick question, just for future reference purposes. If that's in the budget, why are we needing to vote on that separately?
There is an agreement form that
Cherokee County, the Development Authority requires a separate agreement.
Requires an agreement.
So what they voted on was the contract itself.
Well, the annual agreement, yes, sir.
Renewal of the agreement.
I'm clear.
Yes, sir.
Be good if we could get that synced with the budget. I don't know if that's do it 2 months earlier, 3 months earlier, but one less.
We've included this in our current year budget.
The dollars, I'm just talking about getting the agreement. No problem. Just wanted to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The ordinance allowing Sunday package sales, this will be considered the first reading. You have in your package a copy of that ordinance, the hours of operation and so forth. The only thing that's really not in there, and I'm thinking we maybe need to include that if we can, is the fee for the Sunday package sales, for the license for Sunday sales. Now, I didn't know until fairly recently that.
I don't have a copy of the ordinance.
You emailed today, or yesterday, when you send these?
But it was after your package.
I did yesterday. I guess the pretty short, so we'll give you a minute or two to take a look at it. Digest
most of it,
information.
This first reading, most of it is unchanged from what we already have. All that's added is the Sunday sales part. But it is just first reading. So.
Now, my question, I guess, here is: do we not need to include the fee in this?
Not in the ordinance, but you need to set it.
Okay.
So you can do that as one motion.
We could do that at the December 15th meeting as well?
Yes.
Okay. And does anyone know what the fee is for Sunday sales of bottled drink?
I asked that today, but I didn't confirm that.
Okay. Okay, I would think it might end up being about the same, but I don't know. Okay, we'll need ready to set that with the time we adopt this ordinance, I think, because we will have some interest fairly quickly in getting this taken care of, so that we should have the second reading on December the 15th, at which time we could, after discussing on December the 1st the fee, which we need to make sure that's on the agenda to discuss that fee, then we will act on it, and hopefully we'll have all of the paperwork, necessary forms, or whatever has to be filled out, if it's different than what we have, ready by after the 15th, just after the 15th. Okay. The next item, request for subordination agreement, 511 Christmas Street. I will let our city attorney discuss that.
And this ends up being a moot matter, but I want to go ahead and give you the background on it, meaning we don't need to take any action. This was an issue that came up with a lender on a property. We're trying to clear up their title before they did a foreclosure. When they searched the title, they found that the city of Canton had a deed to secure debt, a lien on property from a loan made in 1998. It was a CDBG grant for improving homes, but they were doing it as a loan. So we actually had to, on the record, we have the first lien, head of the bank lien. So they were asking that we cancel it. We determined that we had never been paid, so we didn't want to cancel it. And then they asked that we'd subordinate, because we found in the city's file that the mayor had signed a subordination agreement, which is when you agree to become a second mortgage, let the bank go first. When Canton was recorded, the city's was recorded, it was a second mortgage at the time. Then they refinanced the first, and the paperwork didn't get recorded. So the city ultimately agreed to subordinate, and I put it on the agenda because I thought they were just asking that we would reaffirm that, and I didn't have any real problem with that. But the subordination agreement specifies a loan amount of $44,600. They were asking that the loan was actually a much higher amount, and they were asking that we would revise that subordination agreement, and I don't think we should do that. So I'm saying we don't need to do anything. I've told the attorney that we're not going to agree to that, because the only reason we were going to affirm it is because we had a copy of an agreement where we had done it. There is nothing in the minutes to show the council approved that subordination agreement. I'm giving you this background because I think it's going to come up again. They're going to turn it over to their title insurance company as a claim. We're going to end up having to have a discussion with them. My concern, and I think the city's concern, would be that we don't have a property out there sitting there with the bank doing nothing as far as upkeep and maintenance, and it deteriorates. We may have the ability to get ourselves in a first position and get it back and sold because we're owed less than the bank is owed. So just wanted to let you know the background, and it probably will come up again. But again, that's my concern, is that we take action and make sure that the property gets sold to somebody and put back into productive use.
Does that need a motion?
No.
That's clear enough. Thanks. Wow.
I think what we're going to have to negotiate is letting them go forward with foreclosure and agreeing on who gets what money. And I'm assuming that our lien actually expired in 2008. It was matured, it should have been paid. So for 3 years, we still have a good claim on the property. But obviously the city wasn't looking for the money. So we have some give that we can work with some, but if the bank expects us to just kind of walk away, I don't think that's right either. There are some things we can talk about. Just have to see what they come to us with.
Anyone have a question on that? Yes.
Clear as mud.
You have a question, Nancy?
Yes. That property was my father, and I just found out about the lien in the city. And I've been trying to buy this property from Wells Fargo for a year. They approved me a loan for $65,000, and I went to close on it. Then they want to get a appraiser on it. The appraiser came back shorter than the $65,000. they told me at first we didn't have it probated. That's where the whole problem is of keeping me and my brother from buying the property. Wells Fargo told me, I put it on loan. 3 months after that, they came back and said my application was incomplete. I had to have it probated. Then I hired a lawyer to get it probated. Then he came back and told me that I didn't have to. I wouldn't have to spend the other $1,800 to give to the lawyer. So they went on and approved me the loan for $65,000. Then 3 weeks ago, I found out that they said that I did have it probated. I did have to have it probated, and they gave me 9 days to get it probated, they were gonna go into foreclosure. So they put it in foreclosure, and I just found out Tuesday that you all had a lien on it, and I thought the property was sold. What I'm asking the council them to do in the city is give me a chance to get this property. Wells Fargo not giving me a chance. They gave me 9 days to get it probated, and my lawyer's telling me it take 4 weeks in court. We got to get a court date to get it probated in my name. But if the city of Canton would give me an opportunity, I'm willing and I wanted to buy this property because both of my parents died in that house, and I want to keep it. And it's not but a 2-bedroom house, and they talking about you set it on the block, you ain't gonna get $60-something thousand for it. And somebody's living in the house. It's not just sitting there. Not a thing. We got the insurance, we got everything on the house, just like we was buying it, but they not giving us the opportunity. I'm just asking the city to give me and my brother a chance to buy the house, give y'all your money, and let us have the house back.
And that's, the bank can't foreclose as long as, because they're trying to clean up their title and then go foreclose, and we told them, no, we're not going to help you clean up your title. So they can't foreclose. They got to come talk to us. Our options are going to be to assert our rights as a first lien holder, because we are on the record. If we did that and we were successful, then we would foreclose, and the bid price would be a lot lower than if the bank did. If the bank forecloses, they're owed $70,000. Well, they're not going to get that at a foreclosure sale, whereas we're only owed $25,000. So that's what I meant, that there's some things we can do, and I was referring to son here being able to buy it. We might be able to help him.
So if we were to assert the first lien, the second one would totally be lost.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I think one of the key things you said in your dissertation was that we want to make sure that the house just doesn't go deteriorate. It sounds like we've got somebody who is saying that's not what's going to happen.
Right.
That was your concern. So I think that in the city's interest, that's what we should be looking at.
We're good with it because they're taking care of it. They still own it. It hasn't been foreclosed yet. The estate does. And so we stopped the foreclosure by not agreeing to what the bank wanted.
I'd just like to add is that when I saw this matter on the agenda, I contacted Mr. Dyer, and I also contacted the Keith family because I was aware of the circumstances that they were going through. I wanted them to come and hear Mr. Dyer's presentation because I did not know what, if anything, the city could do. But since the council has heard Mr. Keith make his presentation and is aware of this, I suggested that he and or his attorney get with Mr. Dyer to see what would be the procedure to follow and or what the city was going to be doing in regards to our end of it. But I did want the council to be aware that I know this family, and I did make him aware that this was going to be on the document.
I think what the plan that's forming in my mind anyway is to assert our rights as first lien and then compromise with the bank so that they can go ahead and either sell it on the short sale, or if they have to proceed to foreclosure, it'll be at a price that somebody will buy it.
So you don't really want to just cut the bank out?
We might have to go to court to do that, to get a declaratory judgment.
Well, I thought the second mortgage they have, if we foreclosed,
well, we have,
what lien would they have then on that property?
No, somebody got to go to court. The problem of we can't just declare we're first because we did sign a subordination agreement. Even though it didn't get recorded, it doesn't have to be recorded to be legally effective. The bank could say, well, you're subordinated to 44,000, which would be okay. That's what we thought, apparently. But they want us to be subordinated to 105,000, which would preclude us from ever having a chance to get any money. So I just didn't think we could agree to that, so I wasn't even going to bring it to you. I think the decision we'll have to make in the next couple months is, do we want to go to court to be the first? And what I'd rather do is negotiate a little bit first and bring you a plan that solves everybody's problems.
So you think that'd be within the next couple of months?
I'm assuming I'll be contacted by the title insurance company pretty quickly. If not, we can send them a letter and assert our position.
Any other questions about that?
One more.
Yes, sir.
What you just said seemed like to me they still cutting the family out from buying that house. If you're gonna talk with the lawyer, the bank, and make sure that they get their money, the appraiser of the house was 41,000. That's why they wouldn't give me the 65,000 that they already have approved me for. And I was gonna come up with the rest of the money. Then they had the house appraised for 41,000, but they won't let me have the money until I get it probated, which we should have did it at first. And I'm asking that if there's any way possible to give me and my brother a chance to buy that house on our own. And
the perfect solution in my mind would be that Mr. Keith and his brother be able to buy it on a short sale from the bank, and that we would agree to release our lien. I mean, I think that would be maybe one thing that comes forward to you, is that there's actually a purchaser of the property that we are in the way of. And then you could decide whether you want to release the lien at that point. So that would be the solution that I would want to happen personally, and the council may agree with that. But we don't control that, because there's a bank out there and we just have to deal with them. But that would be one option, would be that the bank does agree to let you purchase it, and then you would come to the city and say, I'm purchasing it if you'll release your lien, and then the council could agree to do that. I just didn't want the bank to have a $105,000 loan out there and not be willing to sell it to anybody. I just thought it gave us a little bit of position. If you would instruct me otherwise, I'll do whatever you want. But we can let it sit, and I think it'll work out.
Cause where did the 105,000 come from?
That's the bank's loan on paper.
The 105.
It was a line of credit for 105,000. It was a reverse mortgage.
Yeah.
That your father took out. He apparently only took out 70 of it, but it's 105 on paper.
So, I don't want him just to be in total limbo here. When would we anticipate that we would know something to get back with him?
I don't know. He's got to talk to the same people I need to talk to, which is the bank. So, and that's Wells Fargo. So, good luck with that.
Yeah. Anything else? City manager report.
Just a few items, Your Honor. We're going to be working on a special call meeting to discuss the Etowah Park ball fields issue. I'm not sure Donna might have been in touch with some of you already. The date that she had initially been trying to work on, we learned late this afternoon some of the county people may not be able to make, so that date may be a little bit waffly, but at any rate, just please be aware that we're trying to arrange that meeting. We did have a meeting yesterday with the architect who designed the Laurel Canyon Fire Station. It appears that those plans have been scaled back. He assures us about as much as they can be scaled back in terms of the elimination of frills and non-necessities. His best guess, this is not a building quote or formal quote or anything like that, but his best guess is that building cost would be around $1 million plus or minus for the building itself. As you know, we own a site out there. What's a little bit problematic to me is that I'm hearing numbers anywhere from $20,000 to $300,000 to cure that site, to get that site build ready. And so we're asking our engineer, current engineer, who has not previously done any analysis of that site, to do so and give us some clearer indication of what those costs would be.
You know, we actually bid that project out. It would appear to me that there has to be something in those bid documents that would have described the cost of the site improvement in order to adapt that site to that building. I mean, that almost had to be already bid, so we ought to know about what that is.
In terms of a delineation of what the site curing cost would be, is that what you mean?
When we bid that, we didn't just bid the building.
You bid it on that site?
Right, oh yeah, on that site. That's where the contractors knew they were going to have to go to work every day and build that building.
What he has told us, Mayor, and again, I wasn't here, and I don't know, but my understanding of what he said was, Mr. Beresford, you heard the same thing I did. If you heard something different, tell me. But at that time, and that's where the $20,000 number was that I just mentioned. Apparently, whoever was building the shopping center, is the impression I got, was willing to basically cure that site at that time for $20,000, in that range at least, for a couple of reasons. One, because they already had equipment, people deployed out there and were doing that work. But secondly, because they needed a good bit of that dirt on some other site, and so it would have been some benefit to them then that does not currently exist. But again, we're getting our engineer to look at that and tell us what the site preparation cost would be.
Let me, if you don't mind, when you or should you have time, I think it might be interesting to take a look at those bids, how they came in, and the breakdown of the bids themselves, because I'd be curious to see what that. It's got to be in there. Site preparation's got to be in there, unless they just wrote 20,000, and no contractor in their right mind to do that. I don't think.
Isn't that what was it? Did you understand anything differently?
No, that was it. But one other caveat in that situation was the site preparation had slope cuts and some fill. And my concern is that once you disturb that land, that dirt, which is majority sandy clay with mica in it, it doesn't compact back to what it was originally there. And the architect said, oops, you're right, we're going to have to build retaining walls on the side, and we're going to have to build retaining walls to hold back the embankment we're cutting into. All of a sudden, that increased the cost of that land. And just my input off that thing was that we're doing a lot of squeezing to try to fit this fire station that they need room for by having a mezzanine and a few other things that if we went to another site, which maybe we can or can't, but we're trying to make that fire station fit into what's the old round hole, square peg and all that type of stuff. It's going to be $300,000 for site preparation. And that's, when you have the engineer go out, have him make sure he looks at the soil, check the soil, so that we see what could happen. Because on there, they didn't say one way or the other about the soil. The soil was a major issue on that.
And if you don't mind, looking at those bids, see what the contractors who submitted a bid on that said the site preparation. Okay, go ahead.
Now, the only other thing I had was just to note that, of course, next week is Thanksgiving week, so our offices will be closed next week. I've got one other.
That's all. Okay. Thank you. And for those who did or didn't get the amended agenda, there was one other item under the mayor's report. As you know, Will Hattendorf stepped down off the Tree City Commission, and the Tree City Commission has recommended that Don Stauffer be appointed to replace him on that, and he has accepted that appointment. And I would like to concur with that and ask that you approve his appointment to the Tree City Commission.
Make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. All members voted for the motion. Okay, that's all we have at this point. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you.
Yeah, that was,